Cobalt here. This video is going to be on installing anti-sway bar end links, such as these. There's a few different types, but these are the Cobalt ones. Miata had them on sale, so I picked up a pair. Or a set. Is it a pair of end links or is it a set of end links? Let me know in the comments. I upgraded my anti-roll bars back in December, and I started getting a clunk on the right front. Now, I have checked everything, tightened all of everything up. There is nothing loose. I have lubed everything. I heard someone told me that they had a similar issue. Actually, they said their friend had a similar issue. You know how that goes. And they had to put in aftermarket end links, and that took care of the issue. So maybe the stock ones aren't strong enough to deal with a aftermarket sway bar on the front. I don't know. But we're going to install these. I made a speed bump, but the camera can't pick up, it's just not picking up the noise that it makes. So, sorry, it's a clunking noise. Not a creaking. This one's a clunking. It also creaks a little, but that's a whole other subject. So these are the Cobalt end links. Tools you're going to need. You're going to need either a jack and jack stands to raise it, and then something to also bring the hub assembly up on both sides at the same time, or ramps. And if your front splitter is an issue getting on ramps, just use a little piece of wood in the front of the ramps. That helps for mine. And be sure to put a chalk behind the back wheel. So, tools you're going to need. In addition to the end links, you're going to need a 14 mil wrench or an adjustable, and a 14 mil socket, or maybe a second wrench. For the Cobalt ones, you want a 9/16 inch wrench as well. So my install is on a Miata. However, the end links are pretty much the same on any car. There may be a few minor differences, but generally speaking, your end links, anti-sway bar end links, will be similar installation. So once you have the car up in the air, you need to get underneath and start removing the old ones. So we're under the car. This is the right side. This is the stock end link. It's a 14 mil here, 14 mil here. Just go ahead and pop them both off. So one thing to pay attention to is when you're taking them off, make sure you note how they go into the different pieces. So how it bolts onto the sway bar, this is sway bar, what direction it goes in, and then on the control arm, the same thing, because you need to put the new ones in the same direction. There's the top one. And the bottom one. Notice the sway bar didn't move. It's because the other side is still connected. So we got them off, and I'm hoping this will show in the video. The lighting is, the sun is going down. It's still 86 degrees. Sun is going down though, and it's giving me some funky light shadows. So if you measure from the middle to the middle, it's roughly 4 5/16. Measure yours, don't take my word for it on the stock ones. So what we're going to do is we need to make this, because mine is stock springs, it's the same height as the stock ones. So I will make mine's easy because I'll just make mine the same length. Theoretically, I'll make both of them the same length, just have the angles different because of the two different sides. If yours is lowered, you will need to do this a different way, and I'll explain it when we get under the car. With the Cobalt, there's two different length rods. This is the short one. I'm actually using the long one because mine is stock height. So I'm using the long one. If yours is lowered, you probably need to go to the short one. On the Cobalt, what you want to do is put the two of the nuts, thread it on the rod. You then start threading the ends on, and they go in just like a normal screw rod. If you're stock, it appears that you can pretty much turn them all the way in, like so, and you're going to be pretty close to the right height. You'll then back the nuts to the edges. Once you have it lined up, you'll back these up here. So use your wrench and tighten it. And for those, it is 20 foot-pounds. And just so happens, 9/16 inch wrench fits here. And then you can use the 14 mil on the nut to tighten it. And again, that's 20 foot-pounds if you can get a torque wrench on there. Otherwise, it's good and tight. The bolts up here, it has lock washers, or locking nuts, I should say, 2 washers. It's also got this right here. This is so you can, and that's not 14, interesting. This is so you can hold it while you're then tightening the lock nut, because you want 33 foot-pounds. And on the stock ones, if you've ever done them, this will just start turning. So getting 33 foot-pounds is probably not really happening. Half-inch. You're going to want a half-inch to hold that. A 13 mil will work, but a half-inch is the proper size. The nut is 14. So there you go. So that's back to what I was doing. The washer goes here. Sway bar or the control arm piece will go here. Washer, nut. 33 foot-pounds. Really tight. So mine is stock height. So I went ahead. So I know that this is the right length because I measured it off this. If you are lowering it, what you would do is get one of them set up under the car, one of them set up so that the sway bar is roughly parallel to the ground. It doesn't have to be perfect. And once you've got the first one set at the right angle, at the right length, then you will actually pull it back out and you will set the other one up for the same length. And then when you go to put it on, and I'll show you when you put it on, how to verify you have it, you don't have any preload on it. So we're back under the car. I have installed the end link in the way I believe it goes. I hope you remembered which way it goes on yours. And because mine is the stock length, I was able to pre-size it and put it in. If yours is not, then you would have both out, have both sides out, and then you go to put the first one in. You want to do the thing where you try to level out the arm here of the sway bar so that it's level with the ground. Technically you want it level with the control arm swing, but the ground is generally pretty close to that. And get that to the right size, snug it up, tighten it up as far as the length goes and the angles, then pull it out, and you'll use that for your other side as a pre-sizing, if that makes sense. Hopefully it'll make sense when we get there. So now I'm going to put the bolts, the nuts and stuff on this and snug it all up. So I've got everything snugged up, good and tight. Actually, it'll go a little tighter. This is good and snug. This one here is good and snug. However, what I found is even though I pre-adjusted the angle between the top and the bottom is currently parallel. The top is actually still moved a little. I don't know if you'll be able to tell. It's at more of an angle. I want it to be here, but now the bottom is at an angle. So I'm going to loosen these up. I'm going to turn this a little bit, snug these back up, and this is when you wish you had turnbuckle type sway bars. On the Cobalt ones, make sure there's at least a 1/2 inch of thread. So I got the right side in. I got to be honest, it was a pain. It's all fine and dandy. Use the 9/16 to hold here. 14 mil to tighten this. Great, only, wait, what happens? The top, when you go to tighten it, this wants to turn as well. So it took me several times to figure out when I had it bolted in, this I need to actually have slightly over so that when I start turning this and it starts spinning, they'll end up where they're supposed to be with the maximum amount of travel. Because see how they move like this? You want them lined up so that they're pretty straight, although they end up being kind of like this. If you look at the stock one, it's the same way, and that's how they seem to bolt in. We'll find out for sure when I remove the right one if it's still at that same angle. Let me show you what a turnbuckle is. Same as on a tie rod. I just happen to have a tie rod. You have two ends, and this will be the same way with your end link. This one has the threaded rod in the middle, and these both turn in or turn out. Well, when they're connected, you can't turn them. They're not going to turn. Is it good in that it's not going to come off? Yeah, to some degree. However, it makes adjusting it a real pain in the butt. Turnbuckle, you have this thread, and this is your normal thread, whatever it's called. You turn it clockwise. If I was to turn this clockwise, it would go to the left. This one, however, is the opposite thread. So if I turn this clockwise, it actually backs out. So here's the key. I can take this and I can turn it this direction, and I'm lengthening it. If I turn it this direction, I am shortening it. When you have an end link and you have both of these screwed in, if you have a turnbuckle, you loosen the turnbuckle, you can then turn it whichever the proper way is to lengthen and shorten it. It makes it so much easier to adjust the length. So now I'm under the car and I am on the left side. In the United States, that's the driver's side. I have loosened the two nuts, and look at that. What it tells me is that I was pretty darn close on the links. So should be good there. I'm going to go ahead and pull it out. I have put the nuts on here, and as you can see, I'm sorry, it's really hard to hold the camera still and do this. The tripod is too tall. And just making sure that it's the right length by moving it. You should have play, and I do. This is especially important when you are lowering the vehicle. You want it to be, you don't want any preload. So you put the first one on at the proper length with that bar parallel to the ground. And the sway bar right here, the arm parallel to the ground, pretty close. You know, doesn't have to be exact, but you know, the closer the better. And you put that arm in, you get it sized right, and there went my light. Thank you, light. And you take it out when you got it set right, how you want it. You pull it out. You kind of get the other one to match, at least reasonably close. And my light has a magnetic base, and everything wants to stick to it, except for the aluminum that I'm trying to get it to stay on. So you have a basic idea how long the second one should be. You're going to put it in, and you're going to make sure there's a little bit of wiggle there so that you know there's no preload. What preload is like circle track racers. They will preload the sway bar on one side so that the car is, so if I don't want to get too far into it. You can preload a car and it'll want to turn a direction, as in not go straight. It wants to actually pull one direction or the other, depending on how you preloaded. Well, obviously, on a day-to-day driver, you want it to be neutral or balanced. So you want it to have some jiggle in there. So now I'm going to snug this up. I know it's the right length. I'm going to snug it up. I'm going to go through the hassle of tightening this. All right, everything's tight. And I want to show you how, I'm hoping this will show up. If you watch the top, well, maybe the other, if I can do this without knocking the light, good luck. If I turn, see how I can turn this? The bottom and the top have movement. I can turn it back and forth. That means it's not bound up. It's got to be able to turn like that. Otherwise, it'll bind on you, and that will cause inconsistent at best handling when it comes to roll and that type of thing. Possibly even bumps, and you could break your end links. So one thing I wanted to show you that I noticed when I took the old end links off, there is room here where you could put an Allen key in there. Remember how I was saying it would spin? When you would try to tighten it, you'd tighten it so far and then the whole thing would turn. Well, you can put an Allen key in here. I don't know what size it is. It's decent size. But that might help at least to keep it from turning to some degree. You're still not going to get a lot of torque on an Allen key, but at least that is there. So mine are on So something I didn't specifically mention, if you used jack stands to hold the front of the car up and your suspension is, the wheels are hanging down, you need to jack the front end up underneath those control arms or the hub or somewhere so that it is weight bearing. Ramps, I highly recommend ramps or a lift for this piece because you do want weight on it. Otherwise, if you do all this with the wheels hanging, you could end up with preload because one side may be a little lower than the other if it's just hanging. And needless to say, there's some danger in there that the car could fall on you. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Yes, I'm not liable if you're stupid enough to try to lift your car up without jack stands or ramps. So once you've got them installed, everything's tight, you want to go on a short test drive, make sure everything sounds right, feels right. If everything is feeling good, you're not having any new weird sounds, then do a double check on all of the nuts. Make sure that you got them properly tight. Follow the torque specs for whatever end links you're using. I just got back from a drive and hit some speed bumps and stuff, trying to, see if the clunking's gone. And it is. In fact, I could now hear just a little bit of squeaking. If I hit a speed bump at an angle and that right front would come up, I could hear just a little bit of squeaking and no thump. And so the thumping is gone. I think what it is that on that stock end link, it wasn't getting quite tight enough, and it was actually loosening up just a little bit, and it would slide inside that hole of the sway bar. And that was just enough to where it would clunk on the speed bumps, stuff like that. With the new end links, these are good in that you can put that wrench on the inside and on the outside and get them good and tight. The stock ones, did find that Allen key. If I knew about that, I would have tried it first. That might have took care of the problem. But anyway, it is now taken care of, and I am looking at lowering it. I haven't decided if I'm going to go with coilovers or if I want to get something like the Progress springs. I don't want it too low. I want like an inch, lowered about an inch, because it is my daily driver, and it no longer rolls. So I don't have to worry about that. It's just for looks. So I haven't decided which way I want to go with that. So I got the end links ready for it when I do. So I hope you found this helpful. It is a good amount of work to do these videos, and 98.7%, yeah, 98.7% of the people that are viewing my videos are not subscribed. So it doesn't cost anything to subscribe. It helps with the YouTube analytics to actually get people to your page when you have more subscribers, and when people like your videos and comment on your videos. If you find this helpful and you want me to continue to make these kind of videos, let me know. This would have taken 30 to 45 minutes without the video, and I could have had my 80s hair metal jamming. But with the video, this is over 4 hours by the time you count the editing and stuff that I've still got to do. So, if it's helpful, please let me know. And like, subscribe, comment. Thank you.